On today's hot sheet, I'm discussing the minutes from the September Fed meeting. They are out. We'll dig through them. Home price insights from Cotality over the past year and a report on consumer use of AI for housing info. Today is Thursday, October 9, 2025. I am Byron Lazine, and the hot sheet starts now. Welcome into the hot sheet. I just had to look. I saw one of the stock tickers. I think the real stock ticker is off. The number I saw down there, I'm like, if that's true, I'm selling what I have left in REAX stock immediately. That's why I had a little delay there. That is not right. Yeah, so make sure you fix the ticker there. Real stock is somewhere around $4. I'm at an entry level of $1, so I'm still up. But every time it hits 5 something, I'm selling. That's not financial advice. That's a complete side note. Live from Connecticut, okay? Here we go on the hot sheet. Love to know where you're tuning in from, wherever you may be. Let's get into it. We've got Fed meeting minutes. So we get when the Fed meets, as they did September 16th and 17th for the last Fed meeting, they made the decision to cut the federal funds rate by 1/4 point. That has no direct correlation with the 30-year fixed mortgage, as we know here on the hot sheet, because the 30-year fixed mortgage tends to follow the 10-year, which tends to have a little bit better feel for the future. It's investors placing their bets, and that's kind of where mortgage rates follow, right? You saw this just in September. Fed cuts the rates, and what happened to mortgage rates? They went up. They went up. Why? Because the markets don't believe Jerome Powell when he opens his mouth. They don't believe he's sincere with really having a good feel for the future. They feel like there's a lack of a plan there. And because of that uncertainty and that tone that Jerome Powell uses, he ends up spooking the market a little bit, or they kind of de-risk what might be happening in the future. And you saw those rates obviously move up as they felt less certain about the path forward. The minutes of the Federal Open Market Committee, the Fed meeting, offer us a little bit more insight. They release these minutes typically about 3 weeks after they meet. We now have that 16-page document. The team over here at BAM dug through that document, and we've got the kind of behind the scenes look. What we got 3 weeks ago was just kind of that press conference from Jerome Powell. Now we have how they were thinking about getting to the decision that they made. The Fed was divided. Officials saw another 2 interest rate cuts by the end of 2025. That was kind of what we saw in the projection. Remember 3 weeks ago, part of this meeting, we got the projection from the Fed, their quarterly projection, and we saw that dot plot. It showed a 10-9 split with a slim majority expecting 2 additional rate cuts by the end of 2025. The Fed actually voted 11-1 to lower it by 25 basis points. The one vote wanted a 50 basis point cut. That was the first time in many years that we saw a dissent, not a unified front 12-0. So the dot plot shows a 10-9 split, but there's only 12 voting members. The feeling is most of the 12, or there was still a unanimous majority in the 12 voting members that there will be 2 additional cuts in 2025. Most participants agreed that it would be appropriate to ease policy further before year end. So whether that's 1 or 2 cuts, or maybe even 3 mixed into 2 meetings, most participants are on the same page now with where jobs are. We are lacking some jobs data. Like, we don't have unemployment today because of the government shutdown. But the jobs data that we have had up until this government shutdown, the feeling inside of the Fed was, yeah, we should see more easing of policy before year end. The officials differed on whether there would be 2 or 3 cuts total here in 2025, and that includes the September one. So there are some members that think out of these next two meetings, maybe we should only do one cut. And then there are others, I think the majority slight majority camp that are in the camp of two. 10-9 split on dot plot shows us that is the case. Okay. Projections indicated the likelihood of one more rate cut in both 26 and 27. So kind of not a lot of, planning for 27 to have an increase in cuts at this point. Long-term expected show the federal funds rate settling around 3%. That would indicate about four more cuts between now and long-term to call it 2028. Labor market and inflation concerns. Officials expressed growing concern over a weakening labor market. They noted increased downside risks to employment. Today would be unemployment, week-over-week unemployment data. We don't have that with the government shutdown. There was the new member, first time for Governor Stephen Moran being a part of this. He was appointed hours before the session began. That's a Trump appointee. He was the lone dissenting vote. So now in the minutes, we guessed it was him. Now we know it was him. It was Moran favoring the 50 basis point cut instead of the 25 basis point cut. In later public comments, Moran confirmed he was also the one. He was the one lone dot representing more aggressive easing path. So Moran wanted two cuts, one cut, two cuts, a total of 5 cuts in 3 meetings. That's 1.25 percent off of the federal funds target rate. Nobody else is even in that category. I remember we looked at the dot plot, like everybody's up here on, let's call it 2-3 cuts. Then you had Moran 1.25. And then way at the bottom, when we use that CNBC one, we had that Trump like 2.5. He wants like 2.5% off, which is completely out of the realm of all possibilities outside of some type of global economic catastrophe, which nobody hopefully is rooting for outside of those doomers on X. Government shutdown impact. The ongoing government shutdown at the time of the meeting had closed data providers like labor and commerce departments. So if it's unresolved before this October 28th, 29th FOMC meeting, there would be a little bit of a flying blind approach, not having all of the fresh data. Remember that the Fed uses a lot of this government data. They refuse to use, what I would consider better data, private sector data that is usually more updated and more relevant, and talk about fresh. It's as fresh as it gets compared to some of this rear view looking government data. If you look at the CPI, for example, the shelter data is 2 years lagging, but that's what they kind of hang their hat on. So not using or not having available some of the government data that they typically do, there'd be a little bit of a flying blind approach on inflation, unemployment, as well as consumer spending from the Fed's perspective. And so that could influence policy decisions if they don't have the data to make the right decisions. That might encourage the Fed to do nothing. We have some mentions of housing in the 16-page FOMC document. I'll walk you through those now. Page 3, growth of private domestic final purchases. This is part of the PCE with private fixed investment, often provides a better signal than GDP of underlying economic momentum, had moderated in the first half relative to last year. Remember, the PCE is the Fed's favorite measurement. Recent indicators for consumer spending and business investment spending, particularly for high-tech equipment software, pointed to further moderate gains in this PDFP measurement in the third quarter, but housing sector activity remained weak. Every time they say, hey, there's gains happening over here, it might concern us with inflation, they like to throw in their Fed victory of destroying the housing market. But housing sector activity remained weak. We're proud of it. More renters. That's what the Fed is basically saying there. They don't care about home ownership. It's not a mandate of theirs. They've articulated that many times in the past. Page 5, Rates on the 30-year fixed rate conforming residential mortgages declined moderately on net and remained elevated. So they're saying, hey, this 30-year fixed rate is at an elevated number where it is right now, although it did move down a little bit. But overall, it is elevated, which is holding back, obviously, activity and creating a weak activity level in the housing sector. Also on page 5, paragraph 4, the residential mortgage market credit remained easily available for high credit score borrowers. So there is a division between buyers, high credit score and low credit score. Credit's easily available, high credit score, harder for those that don't have the high credit score. Banks aren't taking the risks that they did that led to the GFC. So there's a standard for conforming loan criteria, and it's really tight generally for low credit score borrowers. That still remains in effect today. Think about the 2012 changes, and this is one of the reasons that we're not going to face some type of 2008. Regarding household credit quality, also on page 5, the delinquency rates on FHA we looked at earlier this week. Go check out the hot sheet replay wherever you listen, here on YouTube, where we do the live show, or on Spotify or Apple. You get the replays there each and every single day. We talked about this earlier. Delinquency rates on FHA mortgages remained at the upper end on FHA over the past few years, but most other mortgage loan types stayed near historical lows. Not only are they near historical lows, they're below pre-pandemic levels. And back in 2019, very normal market for all measurements, below those numbers. So FHA towards the higher end of the range, but the delinquency rates on most other mortgages, which is the majority of them, are near historical lows. Page 8, there, participants mentioned that households were showing greater price sensitivity. Several participants observed that high-income households were increasingly doing better economically than lower household incomes. Several participants noted continued weakness in the housing markets, and a couple of participants mentioned the possibility of a more substantial deterioration in the housing market as a downside risk to economic activity. So those couple of participants, whoever they were, wherever they may be from the Fed, might be the smartest participants in the room. They're saying, hey, we should keep an eye on deterioration in the housing market, because deterioration in the housing market can further deterioration. Obviously, we've been in a real estate recession on transaction count, but further deterioration, loss of value to a significant degree. While it might help an investor get a better deal, it hurts the fabric in which America is stitched together. If you have deterioration in the housing market, there is a ripple effect that goes through local communities, and that momentum might be unstoppable for a period of time. It can, as these Fed members suggested, create a risk to the downside on economic activity. It can hold back economic activity the worse a residential real estate market gets. And they should be protecting against that. It's not a specific mandate that they have from Congress, but it should be on their mind. I would applaud these couple participants if that's the angle they're taking. It seems like it is, from what we can gather from the notes, that, hey, you don't want this to get out of control. Best thing they can do to get this out of control, or to prevent this from getting out of control, is to continue to get the easing on the federal funds target rate so that investors believe that they have a future plan. And we can start seeing that price into the 10-year to get those 30-year fixed rates moved down. All right, there's your update on how the Fed was operating behind the scenes back in September. Okay, Cotality. Their October 2025 report on home price insights has been released. So let's dig into it. year over year. Let's just go to national home price growth, sourced by Cotality. The current number, this is July 2025, so it's an October report, but we're looking back to July 2025. Month over month, we saw a 0.3% drop on national home prices, and on a year over year basis, a 1.3% increase. These numbers are kind of coming in as expected. The seasonal drop did start a little bit earlier in the summer than you would see historically, but you are seeing year over year kind of a flat growth year, 1.3%. Forecast from July to August is a 0.1% increase, while the forecast for the year is to move up 3.9%. So on a 12-month look forward basis, Cotality is saying, hey, we think prices are going to move up over the next 12 months, not continue to see the pressure that we've seen in some areas on the total. They project it to move up. On your affordability meter, $400,000 national median home price, $89,000 is the income required, whether that's combined or single, to afford a median priced home. U.S. home price growth up again, the 1.3% August over August. And you have the 3.9% home price forecast on the look forward 12 months, 3.9%. Homes only projected to get more expensive, according to this Cotality report. Top 10 hottest markets right now are kind of slammed into that Midwest, almost Northeast sector. You got one out west in Washington, but it's Syracuse, New York, it's Ohio, it's Pennsylvania, it's Illinois, a lot of Midwest there, representing the top 10 hottest markets right now, according to this Cotality report. Top 10 coolest markets, what do you know? Those are filled up in Florida. So Cape Coral, Naples, and Sebring, Northport, Sebastian, Wildwood, Punta Gorda, all Florida. Okay, you've got 3 outside the top 10 for coolest markets. You have Champaign, Illinois. You have Texas, Victoria, Texas is in there, and then you have a Hawaiian market. So Florida really on the cool down. You've had obviously Florida. It's been a good run, and now there's a lot of inventory. There was maybe even an argument for overbuilding over the last couple of years. Florida right now making up 7 of the 10 coolest markets. We're about 2 weeks, maybe you could safely say, knocking on wood. I'm heading back to Florida tonight. Knocking on wood here. We're about 2 weeks out of saying, hey, the Gulf Coast didn't see anything this year as it has in the years past. You got these low prices. There could be an opportunity for people to really get great deals in November and December along the Gulf Coast in Florida. As you know, we know that there will be another shift in the future. Now might be that time. It's very hard to predict the bottom, but now is about as good a time as ever to negotiate great deals in those markets. Here are the 5 areas that are affordable. Johnstown, Pennsylvania, Decatur, Illinois, Weirton, West Virginia, and those are the top 3 most affordable, going from 130 to 150,000. Least affordable, it's all California. It's the San Jose's, the San Francisco's, the San Rafael's, anything with a San in front of it. Very unaffordable in California. Markets to watch right now. These are the high risk markets, according to Cotality. So tracking markets with a very high risk of price decline. It's all Florida: Cape Coral, Lauderdale, Lakeland, Northport, West Palm Beach. High risk market home price trends. There you go. So again, those high risk markets, people are skittish to invest in those right now. Again, you get past the climate scare of the season and come out of it without one, and you hit maybe negotiations before what their typical season, January through, call it May 1st, is. It might be able to score a deal. Like Warren Buffett says, I want to be moving into a sector when people are fearful. not when everybody's buying, right? Like everybody bought in Florida in 2021. That's when you were in price wars in Florida. That's when prices were skyrocketing up. Now's kind of the better time if you're going to play the Warren Buffett playbook and get the best deal. All right. Realtor.com report out on 82% of Americans right now are using AI for housing market information. This is really interesting. I had a team meeting up here in Connecticut with my team here, the one team. And listen, the room I was talking to yesterday with the team, some of the hardest working agents. This team will sell the most volume in the state of Connecticut this year to date, in the lead on that number. This team has sold the most listings of any team since 2022, near 600 deals this year. So a lot of great agents in the room. And I shared with them the announcement of Zillow and ChatGPT. I said, hey, take a look at this. Okay. Haley, can you bring up my Instagram? If you can bring that up. So the announcement, and maybe you missed it. Maybe you missed the real word from this week. I talked about it there. The announcement of ChatGPT app and Zillow app kind of having a baby and having a mini app in each other's app, so to speak. We put up on my Instagram at Byron Lazine and on BAM, we put up a post about this. And I shared the post with the team, and I shared the announcement with the team. I shared the post with the team, not because I want my own agents following me, although they should be. I think hopefully most of them are. Check on that, Haley. But I shared this with them because at the time there was 1,400 shares on this post. Right now, this post has 2,956 shares. Almost 3,000 shares. What do people share? People share news, stories that make them look smart. Other people share. Ooh, this is great information. I want to get it out. And that's what people share. People shared this 3,000 times on Instagram. You can drop that off. Why'd they share it 3,000 times? It's big, huge, two huge, big names. It's one of the first software companies ChatGPT has partnered with. And this report today from Realtor.com, 82% of Americans using AI for the housing market, for their housing market information, shows you how big of a deal that is. Now, I was making to the point to the agents of okay, are your reviews up on Zillow? Some of the reasons why that Zillow partnership is important, all these different things, that information is going to get fed to consumers first, right? 82% are using this for their housing information. ChatGPT, Gemini lead the way, 67% on GPT. Think about it. GPT now controlling 67%, Zillow controlling 64%. This combo is a problem child if you're not paying attention to it. When asked which sources make them smarter about the market, this is what respondents on the Realtor.com report said. Number one, good news. We're still in the lead. Okay. Number one, real estate agents. Okay. Real estate agents make people smarter, followed by AI. Okay. Now, real estate agents came in at 62% and AI came in at 61%. So I don't know, we've been around decades and AI feels like it's been around months, and they're only 1% behind us on when a consumer is asked hey, which source makes you feel smarter about the market? Where do you get the best information from? 62% agents, 61% AI, like neck and neck. I mean, um, you got traditional media and social platforms behind those two. Agents were also rated the most accurate source of market information. Good news there, ahead of AI, family and friends. God, family and friends, and the news. Imagine getting like Fox News told me this about the housing market. According to those surveyed, amid all of these information sources, the majority felt that the time spent navigating each source for information about the market was a good use of time. Okay, so here's where they say agents 65%. That's a positive use of my time. AI 62%. Here's the problem. People think their friends, family, and neighbors are at 58%. That's good use of time, asking them, their feedback, their thoughts. TV, 55%. That's crazy. Social media, 52%. News, 52. So the message has got to be your message can't just live on a postcard. Social media, putting out news in your local community, making sure you're talking to enough people because you don't know what friends, family members, and neighbors are saying. Making sure you're showing up on AI. AI beats them all. AI's beating them all, as opposed to except for direct communication with agents. And it only gets bigger from here. So that's kind of just a little bit of a message for agents. Survey, 82% of Americans are using AI for housing information. That number gets closer to 100% probably in the next 2 to 3 years. Okay. Google understands this. They're in the race for AI. It's not coming down to the Google search anymore. It's not that Google search is completely dead, but it's probably way overpriced based on what you can invest on being a leader in AI right now. 4.144% on the 10-year as we enter this Thursday. 30-year fixed yesterday, basically unchanged from where we were the day prior. We're back to 6.36. 4 point would be great. 6.36 on the 30-year fixed mortgage rate. With this minutes release and some of the global news here of the morning, I just want to take a peek at the CME group, see if anything has changed on the next FOMC meeting and the projections, and it's basically unchanged. 94, near 95% chance there will be an ease of 1/4 of a point. We're dealing with a government shutdown, so no change there. We have a stock market today that's starting the day down 130 points. The S&P's down basically flat, as is the NASDAQ. There was an announcement of potential first beginning steps of a ceasefire in with the Gaza conflict. Maybe that hasn't really shown up here in the economics, but maybe that's a good sign globally. Still waiting on the government shutdown to end, so not a lot of news there from investors impacting the market. I'm going to be making an impact in Denver, Colorado on October 24th, 2 weeks from today. Okay, at the Fusion Rally. Fuel your growth. Get in a room of operators, really committed people to their business. These are high producers and operators. If you're in the Denver, Colorado area, join me October 24th. I'll be delivering a keynote at the Fusion Rally 2025. There's some of the other speakers there are just going to be fantastic. Rory Galad, Michael Valdez, he's the CEO of LPT. Myself and others at the event. I'll be doing a keynote the morning of October 24th. If you missed me at BAM Camp or Sirhan's event or Jared James event, and you can get to Denver on October 24th, love to see you there. There's a code BZ25 for BAM community only. So you can get your ticket and come see me in Denver. All right. That's October 24th. Hope to see you guys there. And the day before the Denver event is the Further Together free virtual event, Further Together, presented by BAM. That's on October 23rd. I'll be doing the event from Denver. So I'll be in Denver for 2 days. This event is going to be closing out the Further Together, local regional market events that have been going across the country. Further Together is a free virtual event happening on October 23rd. Do you have the landing page up, Haley? Yeah, can you post the landing page? This is what we have to announce right now. Make sure you click the link so you get access. nowbam.com/further-together. This event is going to include myself, Sharon Shrivatsa, as well as Eric Simon, the broke agent, Andrew Undum, Tim Macy, Katie Day. We've got Kat Torrey, who's brand expert over at Sirhant, and Lauren Lucas. So that's what we have announced right now. You don't want to miss it. Further Together, free virtual event happening October 23rd. Make sure you sign up for that. All right, there you go. Hot sheet for the day. See you guys tomorrow on Knowledge Brokers Podcast, separate YouTube channel. Go check it out. Subscribe. We have a little teaser for everybody. We have Barry Habib on Knowledge Brokers Podcast tomorrow. Barry Habib, mortgage expert, obviously. If you know him, you know what I'm talking about. Just also got on the Fannie Mae board. So going to be an interesting conversation tomorrow on Knowledge Brokers Pod. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. See you guys then. Toodaloo.